They beat it. Hardcore Minecraft with 3 people and 1 LLM adapted and programmed to play Minecraft somehow. I don't even know how, but... And one person literally started Minecraft 2-3 weeks ago, like they'd never played before that. Really? Villian, I think, had beat the Ender Dragon once, but she did have this series before playing, so she had a little bit of experience, which is crazy that she was doing this 5 days ago and then hopped right into this. And Vettel, I think, was probably the most experienced, but yeah. It took... The stream was... It never went down. It took over like 80 hours of actual stream time. I think in-game was probably 47 or something. I basically watched the whole thing start to finish. There was probably 4, 5, 6 hours that I missed just because the sleep schedule didn't line up. I think it was mostly during day 2. Because I remember them, yeah. So I missed a little bit, but basically from start to finish, I got the whole thing in. I've literally just been watching this for the past 4 days, which is insane. But in the beginning, it was so funny to, like, getting upset over one death and stuff like that. Like, okay. And I'm surprised they didn't lock in a little bit earlier. The first 2 days, they were just messing around. They weren't skipping nights. I guess they had to find their footing a little. But, yeah. The recipe ended up being basically Krelly. Why does it still say hardcore Minecraft? Basically, the meta was to have Krelly just stay with Neuro the entire time. Vettel even gave Krelly access to Neuro's backend, so she could kind of see what she was thinking before she, you know, actually was going to do something. Which is kind of crazy, because if you know Vettel, he doesn't like to show people stuff like that. He doesn't like to give people... He's very secretive when it comes to that type of stuff. So that was a big thing for me. I was like, wow. Either he's really desperate or... I think he was just really desperate. So that was pretty sick to see. Vettel mostly did... They ended up going... sort of trading strats, because, like, obviously the Ender Dragon, you can beat the Ender Dragon with no armor base, you know, like, I don't know, half iron. The dragon doesn't do that much damage. It's just everything to get there, you know. But in this particular case, with a person that's new to Minecraft and, you know, hardcore is tough. And Neuro just being so accident prone, they did really need that extra armor. They ended up just duping String. This is in 1.19, which I thought was really funny. But, like, it honestly, they had better armor before just by mining a bunch of sticks and then trading sticks. I mean, that really was... It was a legendary stream. There's no way else to put it. It was just an unbelievable legendary event. It was so entertaining to watch. Every single death, like... every single reset, I mean, the people were getting tilted, you know. Every haha funny neuro moment. There were a lot of insane things. I mean, there's so many variables. And that's why, if you asked me on day 1 and day 2, I remember this. I was like, man, are they going to be able to beat this? Is this going to take like weeks? Because the longer you watched, the more you understood that there's so many variables. Even if you do everything right, even if you do every single thing right, one thing can just go wrong. One Enderman, you know, one zombie that decides to call reinforcements, and just a couple skeletons in a crossfire, and you're just done, you know? I did a stream a couple days ago, in between day 1 and day 2, I think. I was just like curious. I was like, is it really that hard to beat hardcore Minecraft? Yeah, the mobs do a shit ton of damage. That is the biggest problem, is they just do so much damage. I mean, on the last run alone, Neuro almost died to an Enderman, and she had almost full armor points. And in the end, Fillion almost did the exact same thing. It's just one Enderman. It's like on normal mode, it's not a big deal. You know, like an Enderman hurts, but if you have like full half enchanted diamond armor, you're fine. It's just not like that in hardcore. It's just so much more difficult to do. So much more difficult to do. So in day 1 and day 2, I was not hopeful, and honestly, they probably weren't very hopeful either. I was just like, they can probably beat it at some point, but it really was, you couldn't see that path forward, you know, because they had only made it to the Nether a couple of times to the Nether in, I think, 30 or 40, it was like about 30 runs. Well, day 2 is probably about 50 runs, I think, high 40s, and you know, like 40, 45, 50 runs. They only made it to the Nether a handful of times, and a couple of times when they have gotten to the Nether, Neuro just immediately killed herself. Just immediately jumped into lava, and I'm like, okay, well, what do you, like, I don't even know. You know, how if they can't even do this, how are they going to transport her to Stronghold? How are they going to, you know, not get into that situation where the zombie calls reinforcements and there's 2 skeletons? How are they not going to aggro an Enderman? How are they going to get to the end and have every single person survive? You know, that I'm still in awe that the very first time that they got to the end, they actually beat it. You know, because yeah, it's not so much the dragon that is the issue, like I was saying before. It's everything around it, you know. It's getting to the stronghold, which, by the way, they almost died multiple times. Neuro almost drowned, and yeah, I mean, before that in the run, they had a couple of close calls as well. I mean, it's just like, I couldn't see it, you know. It was hard to believe. But that third day, they really started to lock in. They really started to realize that, hey, we really need to skip every single night. We need to have someone just dedicated, doing nothing else but watching Neuro at all times. You gotta plan ahead. And they needed that armor. They just needed that armor. Because even just going down into a cave, you know, the one thing I am surprised that they never did was try and strip mine. I feel like that would have taken a little longer, but it would have been way, 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 way safer for everyone, you know. They never tried it, so who knows? There's so many things, man. So many things to say and talk about in regards to this. This consistently, I will say one thing that they were really getting lucky with the entire time is the insane nether spawns. A lot of like the few times that they did actually make it to the nether, the spawns for the nether were crazy. I mean, I can remember, you know, going to the nether a couple times, and you know, you go to the nether to find a fortress, and the fortress is just nowhere to be found. You know, you have to go so far across such dangerous terrain to even begin to even yeah. But on this last run, that fortress was less than 50 blocks away. No super dangerous lava. It was like perfect. And almost every time they went to the nether, it was kind of like that. They at least had a fortress that was very, very, very close. So they did have that going for them, I will admit. But even then, man, I mean, it's just the nether is so hostile. There were times, you know, one of the first times they went to the nether, Nero attacked a zombie pigman. And it's over. I mean, hardcore, I mean, those guys do a ton of damage on normal. You know? They do a ton of damage on normal because of the swords. So in hardcore, when you're getting ganked by 4, 5, 6 of them, you can't do anything. You're dead. Just so many variables, man. So many variables. The other unbelievable thing is, if you watch the majority of it, you'll realize how much trouble they had getting Nero to follow instructions. Because basically that's what it boiled down to, right? Is you had to instruct Nero to follow you, or to be safe, or to, you know, mine iron. She couldn't really... The programming's not that good where she can just sort of self-sustain herself like that. You know? But at when they got to the stronghold, I don't know if it was her realizing herself, like, hey, this is serious, or if it was Vettel telling her, like, hey, this is, you have to listen, please. But she followed every instruction perfectly. She didn't even go like, haha, but what if? Nope. Which, the entire time, it was not the case. like, it was almost out of character, you know? So when did 87 start? Oh, I don't know, because no one had the thing on. Right. I think it was a little before this, right? 82, 84, 85, 87. So basically, yeah, okay. Basically the start of this. So they played for a little bit. Okay, so basically it took... This is Vettel had the dev stream. So from 2 hours to 7, so 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, like over 5 hours for that run. Over 5 hours. I mean, that's why day 3 and 4, I was like, wait, maybe they actually can do it, because the amount of runs started going down significantly. Day 1, day 2, that's why I felt so hopeless, is because they were just churning through runs, and you're just like, there's no way. There's no way. But 3 and 4, the amount of deaths significantly went down. Significantly. I mean, this was an over 5 hour run. Which makes it even, like, can you imagine? It would have been extremely funny. But it also really wouldn't have been funny if, you know, Neuro drown or something at the stronghold that, like, almost happened. Almost happened. I mean, that would have been almost 5 hours into the run, which is just devastating. So much for nothing, you know? Five-hour run is crazy.